Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys. And this has just happened. This is, as ever, this is always going to be about things that help us as writers who use Macs and iPhones and iPads. It's all about that. But this has just happened, so I've got to tell you this. I do a kind of one-to-one mentoring sometimes, and I've just been working with a poet who has well, it's not a problem, but she has an aggravation with a Mac. And I realised when she was saying it that I do still occasionally get it, but I used to have it an awful lot until I found a solution. So obviously I've told her about the solution. Why wouldn't I tell you? Well, because one solution to one problem, no, it's fine. I'd do that. Except in this case, the solution to the problem turns out to be so useful in so many other ways. At some point, there was a change in Mac OS, and something changed in the Finder, how things were saved where. And the way it affects me is, I notice it most in an app called Pixelmator Pro. It's a graphics app I use for preparing, well, graphics, really. Quite often, I will need to open an old graphic, make some change, and save it to a new place. Fine. But Pixelmator Pro on macOS Catalina will just sometimes default back to saving in its own Pixelmator Pro folder. It happens often enough that when I can't find an image, I mutter a bit and I go to the Pixelmator Pro folder and there it is, and I drag it out to wherever I want. I'm not saying this is earth-shatteringly difficult, but you know it's tedious, and when it happens a few times a day, then you start wondering why don't we just switch to PC? I'm kidding. Sorry, kidding. We didn't get into this silly life as a writer to name files and change folders. So instead, I've got this. I have a thing called default folder X. And I checked, by the way, it is X. It's not 10. It's not the Roman numerals. How to explain what this does? I think it's probably easiest if I show you. Let me put it into some context. This is what you will see on any Mac at all, unless you get this extra app. This is my desktop screen on my Mac Mini. Okay, and now we're in Pages. Well, let me choose the regular File Open option. Let's just make sure we're talking about all the same things, because you know this, but you don't tend to look at it. You just go in and do things, and mostly you concentrate around here, this area in the middle, which is a list of the files you want, and maybe you'll go into a folder there or something. Okay, please don't look at the detail on this, but this is my accounts folder, and that thing at the top, that poppy up thing, you click on there and you see accounts are in my numbers folder, they're in my iCloud drive, fine, and then there are all these other places. Okay, so you want to go somewhere, you might use this panel down the side to nip around to things. You can create a new document here. You can go to particular areas. I write a lot for Apple Insider, so there's all the news and things I do for them, and so on and so on. You're very familiar with all of this. Everything as we've seen it before, until we use this particular app. Now I'm just going to launch this app. Right, and that is now running. You can't see anything. See what happened just after a boot? All of these little extras, they wrap around. I love this so much. So yeah, if you're saving where you just were, you carry on as normal. You don't lose anything through this. You get the bonuses. For example, let's see here. Here's a list of favorites. And you can add to favorites for things. But also, actually, I like this one particularly. Here's a computer, right, okay. Hudson Yards is the name of my hard drive. Let's look for users, and there's me. Let's go to downloads. Can't show you that, can't show you that. Okay, scripts, that'll do. Oh, none of them, all right. To place, really? Okay, not doing very well. All right, here's some documents. I go into another one, I go into another one, and there. And notice, by the way, it's giving me a preview. I can actually read the document here, just about. But you see that long thread of things. Rather than click here, up, down, try to find it, I can try, and then if that's wrong, I can move it to here. I can move back to this. I can move back to this, and just get around very quickly. And wherever you've picked is where it stays. Recent folders, recent files. And then over on this side, Here are things that I regularly open. I was going to say I regularly want to open, but I'm not sure if that's true. This one here is to do with my accounts, and yeah. So you can see straight away that is a quick way to move around your Mac. Let me just set up something to show you about that. Right, so this is my desktop as it might normally be when I'm not trying to be neat and tidy for you. Loads of windows open. I mean, there's only 3 here. I can go a bit crazier than that sometimes, but 3 windows, and you know, the usual thing in the Finder, you can click between them. Fine. Let's go back into Pages, back into File Open. Now remember, this is File Open with default folder 10. I've installed that, I'm running it. I don't ever have to go to the app. It's part of every open and save dialog box. And this is what is, oh, I love this so much. Look at the 3 levels of this. Here in the middle, from about here to about here, the same dialog box that we're used to for open and save. Down the sides, all these wrappings. But now, watch the cursor as I move it over to here. If I click now, it's moved it to this. And that's very nice. I mean, I think that's really nice, but let's, okay, here we are on the 58 keys with the first couple of videos. Right, there's a Sapphire. Let's make that cover the screen, and we're back in Pages. Okay, so now we can't see where those folders on the desktop are, but default folder X can. And there's the one down here. There's one over here, wasn't there? Okay, click on that, and there it is. Click back. Is that not just the best thing ever? So again, let me just stress that once you've installed this app, you never have to think about it again. In fact, the only time you do think about it is when you move to a Mac that hasn't got it. It's so invisible. It becomes so much a part of how you do everything on your Mac that I once made a really stupid mistake in a review. The first time I wrote a review about it, I enthused like mad because of all the things you've just seen, and I thought that was tremendous. And the last thing I said was, it would be so good if you could have that power, that feature set in the Finder on the Mac, so that when you were just looking through Windows things, you weren't in any applications, it would be great to have that. You do. Let me get rid of some windows here and show something like that. Okay. All right, here is a window on my Mac, just the one. Notice here, does that not look familiar? Right there in every window of anywhere on the Finder. So I move around my Mac at light speed. And that is default folder X. It's from Sinclair Software. You have to get it direct from the developers. It's on the website, it's on screen now, and also in the links below. It costs $35 or about £33 or so for it. I had to look up that price because it's so long since I've had this. And do I use it 6 or 7 times a day? Oh, I would think it an absolute minimum for this. It's been a godsend, really. I love this app, so much so that I nearly didn't mention it to you because I forgot that we didn't all have it, that it doesn't come on all Macs. I'm so glad I remember, because this is going to be one of those things that I'm going to say is an essential. If you write on your Mac, most of all, then do get this, because once you've, I mean, it's not a casual purchase, is it? 30 odd quid, but the time, the aggravation, the convenience, for years it's worth it. Also, the fact is, it's that's the price per user, if you like. If you happen to be somebody who writes on a desktop Mac like I do, but you also have a MacBook, well, you just buy the one. Oh, and also go to Sinclair Software and you can get a 30-day free trial of default folder X. It is so good. And that's it. That's the. I was rushing. I so wanted to tell you. The moment I learned about this and the problem, and we had the solution, had to tell you about it. I love all this stuff. I told you that I don't like fiddling about. I like writing. Little things that I can learn how to use that can help me this much. That's really why 58 Keys is here. It's all about writing, isn't it? What else do we want to do? Speaking of which, do go to my 58keys.com website and click on the writers mailing list, or follow one of the links below, because there's more to all this than just typing on Macs and iPhones. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. We'll find something. There'll be something else to do. We'll talk about other writing topics elsewhere. But for the moment, Thank you very much for watching. Go get default folder X, and I'll see you soon.